Scott, I think I'm going to do this a little bit backwards because it was just a little over a year ago, the Board of Governors elected you as the new president and CEO of the American Hockey League, but you wouldn't take that job until July 1st, which just happened to be in the middle of this worldwide pandemic. What was getting the job and then waiting to take over the job like last spring?
Well, it was an extensive interview process that began in October. Dave announced in May that he was going to be leaving after the next year, and I was interested in the job. I've been interested in the job for 3 or 4 years, and I've talked to Dave about it. And he was always threatening to leave, but he never did. And he was so good at the job, why would he? And anyway, so it started in October. Went through a search committee interview, was lucky enough to get into the second interview process with maybe 2 or 3 other people, and then was lucky enough to get offered the job. So that happened in February, before the pandemic. Dave had invited me to a staff meeting in Boston. They did a staff retreat the night that the NBA player tested positive. Oh. I was with the staff. And that's when the sporting world really shut down. The next day and the next weekend, everything shut down. And I was still working for the Oilers at the time. I was supposed to start with the league on May 1 and then take over on July 1. But, everything ground to a halt. So I actually got an early start in the job and the onboarding with the staff and with Dave. And then, so July 1 came and we're in the middle of a pandemic and we're just trying to figure out how we're going to play next year. Are we going to play next year? What's it going to look like? We kept having to postpone the season from October to December to February. And then I think it was a tribute really to our ownership and the importance of playing hockey in the AHL to the NHL ownership. As you probably know, almost 2/3 of our teams are owned by NHL teams, including Stockton. And they just wanted to have a year of development. I often look at Major League Baseball last year, Rob, and the only baseball that was played was at the Major League level. And all those young players, and they have a way bigger development system than the NHL does. And they all lost a year, basically, of competitive baseball. So I'm very proud that we're up and running. We've had our hiccups. We've had our COVID outbreaks. We've had to cancel games, postpone games. But all in all, I think we're surviving.
You would have had when you took the job, I'm assuming you would have had a mandate, and then July 1st you take over. I'm not sure you can execute on that mandate. So what was your philosophy coming in, Scott? What were you trying to do as you kind of assumed in crisis mode, really, right?
Yeah, I mean, the long-term goals were, first of all, I don't think you can know exactly what you're going to do until you sit in the chair for 6, 7, 8 months, a year. And it's get to know the league, get to know the people, get to know the revenue generating opportunities what are the new opportunities out there? Like I often think now, gambling was not on anybody's radar 5, 6, 7 years ago. And now it could be a big revenue driver for sports. So where are those future opportunities? Are we going to be ready to capitalize on them? But really just get to know the league, get to know the personalities, continue to develop our relationship with the NHL. I mean, that's our bread and butter. We're here because of the NHL. We provide entertainment. We're important in our communities, but really it's an NHL-driven product of player supply and player development. And that's what our model is. And that's what we decided our model would be 25 years ago. And it's really worked well for both parties. So, and the other thing, I think we have a great brand. So what are we going to do with the brand to enhance that? We've got a prominent place in the hockey world. What are we going to do to make sure we keep that place? And I guess the other thing was, grow the game. Where are we? We're across the United States. In many states, we're in Canada. We're coast to coast. So what are we doing to make sure? It's an obligation of ours, I think, to make sure that we're bringing the game to people, helping grow the game. So those were the things I thought I was going to be doing. And obviously that changed. You put some of those longer term goals on the shelf just to try and manage through this extraordinary time that, hey, not just the American Hockey League, but all pro sports, everybody's just trying to manage through and get through. And hopefully we get to some type of normalcy, not in the not too distant future.
So a little over a year from when you mentioned the NBA date, which really seems to be the kind of the start of the pandemic calendar for sports. Give us a little update. I know, we're playing a season without 3 teams, but as we sit here today, what's your opinion of how things have gone, and what's your outlook for next year?
Well, first of all, next year, if there's one universal message that I've gotten from our teams, from our owners, from our players, from everybody involved in the game, even the NHL people, is let's do the best we can this year, but let's not let it interfere what hopefully will be a normal season next year.
Right.
Now, I can't tell you whether we're going to be at 100% capacity in all our buildings, but I certainly think we're going to be 50%, 60%, 75%, hopefully greater. It'll depend on the jurisdictions. So I think we have a chance at normalcy. We're planning for an October start like we would. Normal games played season. We're going to have our spring meeting in a little less than a month now, probably, and we'll have all those plans or get commitments from everybody and make sure that we're, so the schedule maker can go to work and plan the schedule. As far as this year, I mean, if there's one thing I've learned is our athletic therapists are carrying a very heavy load. Yeah. There are COVID officers for the most part, and they're doing their normal job of trying to take care of 20, 25, 30 players. But everybody's doing the best they can, putting their best foot forward. We've made mistakes. Our teams have made mistakes for sure. The players have made mistakes. We as a league have made mistakes. That's just what happens when you're dealing with an unknown virus. And we, as you might imagine, and probably would agree with, we know a whole bunch more than we did 4 months ago when we tried to take this or think about undertaking this. So, but really proud of our group, proud that we're playing hockey, and we're over halfway through. We're getting near to the finish line. We'll finish the regular season by May 16th. We're discussing playoffs, which will go on a division by division basis. So just really happy that our group has put their best foot forward and doing the best they can and getting through this.
Well, part of the history of the American Hockey League is you develop players, but also the game is developed. New things have been tested down here. Not that you've been testing a lot of things, but as you watch hockey, the way it's being played under these circumstances, have you taken anything from it? Have you learned anything? Is there anything that, might be an adaptation that might move forward? And I will lead you with this. As someone who's been around the game for a long time, I am not missing video replay.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting discussion, because I know there will be some people. Well, we had a request prior to the season starting to increase video replay in our league, because we don't have the offside stuff. We really don't have the goalie interference. Yeah. We just have did the puck cross the line or not, and so that'll be an interesting discussion. Certainly, and we'll see where that goes. I think generally I'd say less is more for me as well. Mm-hmm. But, you want to get the calls right, and you want to help the referees and make sure the players have a fair and efficient system in which to operate. So we'll be discussing all those things. I guess nothing has really struck me from a rule point of view. We've tested some of the pucks, and we'll be testing some of the newer pucks this weekend. But the one thing that's impressed me, Rob, is in this very uncertain time, the competitiveness of our players and the competitiveness of the games. You would never know. We're in a period where, we're probably not awarding the Calder Cup, and why are the players, they're laying it on the line every night. There's lots of gamesmanship going on. We've had, I can't believe the number of suspensions we've had or player discipline requests we've had to look at. And I wasn't sure we'd get many, but the players are competing, and that just shows the emotions there. Not that we like doing player discipline requests, but it shows the emotions there, and the players care. And that's one thing that has stuck out for me here this year so far.
And I'd also kind of like to pick your brain as a former general manager and a player personnel guy. We've seen, because of your feeder leagues in some cases being, paused, we've seen some younger players in the league, maybe more so than we have in the past. And I know that's always a debate about, when should a young player, a junior player enter the American Hockey League? Have we been able to garner any data or any information or form any opinions that we have seen more 18-year-old and 19-year-old players in the league?
Well, we certainly have. I mean, you just look at some of our rosters. You think of, I think of Ontario Reign and the San Diego Gulls, they had Trevor Zegras and Jamie Drysdale there. They have Quentin Byfield there now in Ontario, and other younger players. Lehigh Valley's got Forrester there. So and I just saw Rochester play with Quinn there. So I think this has been a big benefit for those younger players, because I think once you get past the Sidney Crosbys and the Connor McDavids and, the no doubters, all these players, when they're in junior, they're the best. They've always been the best player. And they think it's going to be, I don't want to say it's easy, but they're going to manage their way pretty smoothly. And then you get to training camp, and then you get some players, as you know, get to the American League, and it just kills them a little bit. And it can take a long time to come out of that. They thought it was going to be easy. They have to have a huge mental adjustment. I was there when Leon Draisaitl went down to Bakersfield. He got 1 goal in 7 games. And that was all because he just wasn't mentally ready to compete, because he was disappointed. They're disappointed. They think it's going to be easier. So we've seen that. And I think some of these young players have benefited from that, they're going to take this year as a learning experience and say, wow, this is going to require some work. And the quicker they learn that lesson, the better off they are. So in my talk, that's a long answer to your question. In my talking to a lot of the player personnel, general managers, they've seen a huge benefit for that. Now, is that going to continue? That's an NHL, CHL issue, and there's all kinds of reasons why it can't continue. But this year, we still have Ontario Hockey League players playing in our league, and probably will till the end, because the Ontario League is just so uncertain right now.